The Suicide Squad, a title that would probably piss off Sean Parker, was written and directed by James Gunn and is the latest film in the DC Cinematic Universe. This is, of course, also a sequel to the 2016 Suicide Squad, although this is very standalone in that you can watch this without never having seen that movie. And you know the drill at this point. Amanda Waller brings together the worst of the worst criminals around the prisons and basically rounds them up to become a team and take on some very dangerous missions that are out of the US's jurisdiction. Whatever happens on these missions doesn't matter. They will die, probably, but the job gets done eventually. And so that's the similar situation over here. The squad is brought together along with a lot of new members, and they're sent to a place called Corto Maltese, basically to take down a dictator. But there's another something going on at the same time that might involve a big starfish. This is not a spoiler, by the way. This is on the posters and it's in the trailers, so you kind of knew that was gonna be a thing going in. Like most people, the first Suicide Squad is one of those movies that just got very, very messy when I watched it the first time. But you wouldn't be able to tell if you go back to my review of it, because 2016 was a kinder time. I may have been a lot nicer towards it because it's not really aged well for me in the years since, and I just watched it the day before I saw this movie, and it at times felt like there was a movie in there somewhere, and sometimes it felt like an MTV Greatest Hits music video compilation. And so eventually it just became one of those movies that I was like, okay, I'm not really going to revisit this. And so going into The Suicide Squad, I was excited because of James Gunn's involvement, their R rating, and just the idea of going absolutely berserk with this. But I was also a little concerned because it's like you don't want to overstay your welcome and you want to do the berserk nature of things. You want to do it in the best way and in the right way. And James Gunn, for the most part, does accomplish that. This is a bonkers movie. It's absolutely fucking insane. You will see things and characters will do things that are so out there that I almost respect the audacity of it. In fact, I do. What happened over here is that James Gunn basically was let loose. If you've seen any of his projects outside of the Guardians movies, which there are plenty of, you can know that he's a director who is not afraid of being really, really weird and doing some very violent things in the process and not exactly shying away from that. This movie very much utilizes that R rating because not only is it very, very profane, it is also very, very gory. The deaths that happen in this are very graphic, and I'm not exactly specifying who dies or anything like that, but whenever there is some kind of a gory scene, expect to see shit. And seeing that splatter on the big screen was pretty awesome, I won't lie. There were moments which were like, oh yeah, yep, that was pretty fun. But what I think this film nails really, really well is the team dynamic, because you're with these very awful people, most of them, but what I really like about it is the dynamic it creates. You get a lot of character moments in here, something that I wanted in the first Suicide Squad movie, and maybe there's a version out there which has them, at least that's what the internet tells me. But in that scenario, like, what I really like about this film is that there are moments where characters just talk. There are quieter moments, like they'll be on a bus somewhere, or there'll be just two people talking in a room. And the way those are handled were really great, because in those moments, like in later on, when things go absolutely to hell and they have to do things together and they're facing death literally in the eye, in those moments, suddenly these people who are known criminals and awfully like the worst people alive, suddenly they're a lot more endearing, and you're not looking at them as like supervillains anymore. You're looking at them as the next superheroes. And the performances that go along with this, like Idris Elba, he's really great in it. Margot Robbie continues to prove that she is one of the best cast comic book characters of all time as Harley. I also really like John Cena in this as Peacemaker. I thought he was a very entertaining presence, and I'm excited to see the HBO Max show that James Gunn has made now. That's going to come out in next year. I also really liked, and I'm sorry if I messed this up, Daniela Melchior as Ratcatcher 2. I thought she was awesome and one of the highlights of the entire film. The real standout of this movie, though, which I gotta say, was Sylvester Stallone as King Shark. This guy is awesome. It's really funny in the movie. Every scene with him was great. There's a scene with him in front of like an aquarium space, which was awesome. The trailers actually are very concealed about this movie. So there's a lot of things that I'm not bringing up, but there are moments with characters that, and action moments also, that the trailers just do not reveal, and I'm glad because they could potentially have ruined the entire movie, and they don't now. So that's really, really good. But there are so many insane moments in this that I'm so glad the marketing did not ruin, and I know are going to be ruined tomorrow because it's going to drop on HBO Max. So, bummer. I also have to give real great praise to the visual effects. They are magnificent. You see some great destruction over here. Like, just because I said it's gory and violent doesn't mean it's like cheap gory and violent. Like, it very much feels like they feel real, some of these moments. They really viscerally do. And even the effects work, which is done on Shark, for instance, like, he feels like it's a real shark. It actually feels like this guy is walking and talking. And that is pretty impressive. Like, in terms of even like lighting and effects like that. Like, you can see individual scales at him at one point because he's looking at something. That was also really, really impressive. As is with the James Gunn joint, you know you're gonna get some great music as well, and you do. Not only do you get an excellent John Murphy score, which might be the best in the DC cinematic universe, maybe. You also get a really great compilation of songs, a really great assortment, and it never feels like a music video. It feels like it's edited just at the right times, and everything sort of fits in the places that it's supposed to. And in that out there nature that the movie definitely has going for it, it definitely adds to that effect quite considerably. I had a really great time with this movie. I really, really did. Is it a perfect movie? Not quite. I think there were moments in the first act which were a bit disjointed. Like, it was trying to put things together. Like, you have this opening, like, which is amazing. Not just gonna say that about it. And then after that, in setting up a few other things, it feels like we jump around quite a bit and it felt a little disorienting. Just a little bit. It eventually cleared out a lot more, and eventually towards the final act, which is beautiful cinema, honestly. Like, before you got to that, like, once you were there, things were fine, but it took a while to sort of get on the same level as the movie was and to sort of get things going. Like, before that, I kept wondering, where is this going? There were just a lot of scenes that were happening at one point in time that were, I was still looking for the line sort of connecting it all. And once eventually it did, then the film got really, really good. And by the end of it, I was having the time of my life. I couldn't wait to see this movie again once I was done watching it. And I'm looking forward to seeing it again, whether it be in theaters or on the Max deal thing. Either way, this is a movie that really, really deserves to be enjoyed. This is one of the better DC movies for me. In fact, in terms of things that have come since, I would say, the Nolan trilogy, since The Dark Knight Rises, I would say this is one of their best ones. I had such a blast watching this film, and it's a marked improvement not only on the Suicide Squad before, but it's a marked improvement on a lot of films that have come in DC even since. Like, this is a really, really great film. I hope you guys also enjoy it, as in when you check it out, or if you have checked it out, because I know this movie's been releasing in other places around the world already, so I'm sure a lot of, like, friends, critics, whoever are in, like, the UK, for instance, they've already checked it out, and I hope you guys are enjoying it as well. I'm gonna give The Suicide Squad a 9 out of 10. Also, I want to give a special shout out here to David Dastmalchian, who plays Polka Dot Man. His character was awesome. Like, I really did not care for Polka Dot Man in the comics or anything that I've seen him in since. Like, he was a character that was there, but I was like, okay, polka dots, so they do some damage, okay, whatever. There is an emotional connect with this character that you have by the end of the movie, and I thought that was cool. Like, if you can make that happen with Polka Dot Man, you got yourself a pretty great movie on your hands. Guys, thank you very much for watching. Look forward to more reviews very soon. I will have a spoiler review of this up this weekend as well. I would like to talk about it a lot more in detail. As always, if you like this, please do subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the movies.